Hey guys, this is Jay with the Douchebag Brigade, and I got a request to do a video for, well, not a request to do the actual video, but the gentleman was curious to hear my thoughts on the original Raidou Kuzunoha game. Raidou Kuzunoha versus the Soulless, the Soulless Army, I'm pretty sure. And, I sometimes get that confused with the King Abaddon and what order they come in. And so I had planned on doing a video regarding both games, and I was going to wait till Monday, but I got some free time right now driving to get a new TV. So figured I'd, throw some wisdom down and some opinions on the game itself. So I first played, I've actually played the original Raidou Kuzunoha game on the PS2. As its sequel, I own them both in regular format. May have sold or lost them by now, but I certainly have the digital copies as well. Hopefully I still have the original copies. But so one thing I can say is that the original game was very beautiful in its format, much like I felt all the PS2 games were. They gave that, Conoco style, but they stayed in 3D format, and I really think that there's a lot of power and gravity in the way that he displays his games, more than just his drawings, obviously. So that's the first thing, is, boy, this was a beautiful game, and it was really fun to explore a world a little bit more than what we're accustomed to, because a lot of times we don't get to explore the world in a full 3D setting, and it was fun to do so. I like the introduction of all the detective actions that they put in this game. I mean, this is a game where you have certain demons that can do certain things in the regular world. No one can see them but you, but they can do things like force the truth out of people, light someone on fire, do all kinds of different cruel demon-like things to people in order to get answers for the questions that you have. So it's a really cool concept that no other game had touched on. Would have been nice to see Naoto or Goro in the Persona series do something like this, since they're detectives as well. But I had a good time. I had a really good time just kind of experimenting with what each different little function these different demons could do to different NPCs that have the action ready feature. So there's a lot of cool changes and differences in the reasoning behind getting certain demons. You can only use one demon in battle in the original game, which is one of the flaws that I would say I have with this game, because it kind of takes away the overall enjoyment of experimenting and utilizing multiple demons at once. So in my opinion, that's a knock on the game. However, one cool thing is that those other demons you have in your arsenal can be used in the real world to do something for the detective adventure portion of the game, while you have a different demon set to do something different for battle. So now, with that being said, getting into the battles, this is an actual, and I wouldn't quite say hack and slash, because this isn't like super fast paced, just drilling X. You actually kind of have to time your attacks, as well as you can perform certain specials. You have a gun which you can use different bullets, elemental bullets in, which is a cool way to hit enemy weaknesses. Overall, it's a cool game. You wouldn't expect out of the Mega 10 series, and the overall gameplay is fun. One knock that I have, though, is, at least in the original game, it's very slow, you're attacking. It feels sluggish. It feels sluggish when you attack, and I don't like that because, I mean, to be fair, this is kind of an adventure game, and if you have sluggish attacking, it really puts you in a bad deficit. However, the rest of it, as far as the dodging and the rest of the game goes, it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's not easy. Though I would say that this is probably a game where you can get away with being underleveled more so than most Mega 10 games. It certainly helps to be leveled. It's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. The storyline is fantastic. It takes you to like the early 1900s. Get a 1920s vibe. You're a detective in this old, almost New York-looking setting, though I'm sure it's Tokyo. But you know, you get a vibe of like a New York detective show from the that you would hear about on the 40s on the radio as opposed to on TV. It's really cool. Really, really cool. And, you know, you have interesting characters. You have your boss, who owns a detective agency. You have your damsel in distress character. You have a lot of cool different pieces that play a role here. And I have to say, it was a lot of fun. Now, when it comes to the second game, which was Raidou Kuzunoha versus King Abaddon. That game in itself is truly entertaining. And I have to say that a lot of people maybe miss out on these games. You don't need the first to do the second, though there are some story elements that connect. But the second game, it's like getting the first game and basically upgrading everything. It really improves on the battles. There's more you can do. The timing of the buttons are now on par and on pace, and so you feel the action. Also, now you bring 2 demons in the battle. The reason why this is so important to me and really makes a difference is because being able to fuse multiple demons and do all that to come up with combinations that you like, it's hard to just pick one that you really like and just go with that. This way you have multiple options at once. So you're really able to have 2 at once, and it helps because you're not always just fighting one demon at a time. So having the multiple demons is very helpful. The way that they you can set them up for specific attacks. You can call them away so they don't get hit with certain attacks. I mean, the button style and battle style, at first you might think this sounds a little bit difficult. It's so fun. It's really fun. The setup as a whole is impressively fun. Takes a little bit of eye-hand coordination, but what video game doesn't? And you pretty much just have to pay attention. I mean, it's so fun when you have an enemy who's launching fireballs at you and you have a pyro jack who absorbs it, and you actually move your pyro jack right in front of you in the way so that he absorbs it, heals, and you take no damage. I mean, there's an enjoyment that you get in this that you don't get in all Mega 10 games. It's a separate, it's like a completely separate entity. I mean, they really went for obscure and different on this one, and they hit it out of the park. I mean, this was a game that takes the time to flesh out the story. It takes the time to flesh out the options of the demon over in the real world, and gives you great gameplay. I mean, as a whole, it's just an overall interesting game. You would be hard-pressed to pass this up, especially if you're not someone who loves JRPGs. Now, I am someone who loves the original style of SMT, Mega 10, and everything in between. But you'd be hard-pressed for me to say that this is not a fantastic game just because it's not in that JRPG format. But I think what it does is it brings in people who aren't huge on that and maybe have that action RPG love, and it really does a great job. I mean, this game in a lot of cases, in a lot of ways, is a masterpiece. I mean, if this had the kind of budget that like a Dark Souls has, my God, this game would be unbelievable. I mean, I would love to see what they could do with a Raidou Kuzunoha 3 with some real budget behind it. Boy, that would be amazing. But again, let me digress. This is a great game that everyone who's a fan of Mega 10 should play. Big ups to Ryan Hatfield, because great idea. to bring up this game, and I certainly had it in the works. It's just one of those games that's just a great game. You can't knock it anywhere because there's nothing bad about it. I understand, and I've given you the gripes of the first game, which they fixed within a year. The next game came out, and they fixed every problem it had and made it better. So start with 1. Don't play 2 first, because you can skip 1 if you really want to, but do not go from 2 to 1. It's not an easy comeback. It's kind of like going from Majin Tensei 2 to Majin Tensei 1. Not an easy return. But at the same time, if you want to get that full story, you start with 1. You get through the difficulty of the sluggish button pressing and things like that, and the bad button timing. And then when you get to 2, you're going to be like, yo, this was so worth it. I am so happy I beat 1 so that I can unravel everything in 2. And God, look at how great the gameplay is now. So that's my overall opinion on this game. I think it's an incredible game. I have really no gripes with it that I haven't already discussed. And yeah, guys, let me know what your opinions are. And if you have any questions about this game, or you guys are really looking to get into this game, feel free to message me or DM me at Shin Megami Tensei 20 on Twitter. And I'll be happy to give you some information and some overviews on the game as a whole. Alright, guys. That's it for me, and stay tuned for the next one, and I'm out.